Okay, so have you ever noticed that the people who seem to know the least about something are often the ones who are the most certain they're right? It's a weird thing we all see. Well, today we're going to dig into this really fascinating glitch in our brains called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's all about that bizarre upside-down relationship between our confidence and our actual skill. I mean, it's a question you've probably asked yourself a million times, right? You see someone just arguing their point with total certainty, but what they're saying makes absolutely no sense. And then, on the flip side, maybe you've met a true expert, a genius even, who's just full of self-doubt. It feels completely backwards. So, what is going on here? And this, right here, lays out that paradox perfectly. Look at this. On one side, you've got low knowledge. What do you see? Arguing with certainty, totally overestimating their own ability, that classic, I know everything vibe. But then you look at the high knowledge side, and it's the total opposite. They're expressing doubt. They're actually underestimating their skills. It's like the world is turned upside down. All right, so let's really get into this. We're going to start with that first group, the confidently incorrect. This is really where the whole story kicks off. And come on, we've all been here, right? You look at some new task, I don't know, assembling some furniture, maybe trying a new recipe, and you think, psh, how hard can it be? This looks simple enough. That first little burst of confidence, it's a feeling we all know. Well, that feeling, that really common experience, it actually has a name. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And what's super important to get is that this isn't about being dumb or unintelligent. Not at all. It's a cognitive bias, a little mental shortcut that can affect any of us, literally all of us, whenever we're a beginner at something. So the big question is, why does this happen? Well, the psychologists who figured this out, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, they came up with this really great term for it. They call it a double curse. And honestly, it's a perfect way to understand what's really going on under the hood. Okay, so check out how this double curse works. Part one is simple. Their lack of skill makes them mess up. They make mistakes. That's the first curse. But here's the second, kind of sneaky part of it. The very same skill you need to be good at something is also the skill you need to realize you're bad at it. So they don't just make mistakes, they literally can't even see that they're making them. It's a total blind spot. But wait, that's only half the story, right? Let's completely flip the script now and look at the other end of the spectrum. What's going on in the minds of the people who are genuine experts? You've probably heard some version of this quote before. It gets attributed to all kinds of great thinkers. The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. And that just perfectly captures the expert's mindset, doesn't it? The further you dive into a topic, the more you see just how huge and complex it is. Your own knowledge actually illuminates the vast ocean of what you don't know. So while the beginner is kind of cursed by not knowing what they don't know, the expert walks right into a totally different kind of mental trap. And this one causes them to do the exact opposite. They underestimate just how good they are. And this breaks down the difference in their thinking perfectly. The amateur's logic is, hey, this feels easy, so I must be awesome at it. But the expert's logic gets twisted in the other direction. They think, well, this is easy for me, so it must be easy for everyone else too. They just assume that their level of skill is the average, the baseline for everybody. Okay, so we've got these two very different groups, right? The overconfident beginner and the doubtful expert. So, how do you get from point A to point B? Well, it turns out it's a journey, a pretty predictable one, but yeah, it can be a little bumpy. Because here's the thing, learning is never just a straight line going up. When we're learning something new, our confidence is basically on a roller coaster. It has huge peaks and deep valleys. So let's actually trace that path. Okay, so it all starts here at the peak of overconfidence. This is right when you've learned just a little bit about a topic. You feel this huge surge of confidence. You know just enough to feel really smart, but you have no idea how much you're still missing. But then, boom, reality hits. As you keep going, you start to see all the complexity, all the little details you were totally blind to before, and your confidence just plummets. It falls right off a cliff as you finally grasp how much you really don't know. This is the valley of despair. And yeah, it's a crucial part of the process, but it can be really humbling, even painful. But if you can push through that valley, that's when the real journey begins. You start the slow climb up the slope of enlightenment.
This is where you're building genuine, hard-earned skill. Your confidence starts to come back, but this time it's different. It's quieter. It's grounded in actual confidence and a really healthy respect for what you still have to learn.
Okay, so this is a super fascinating look at how our brains work, right? But the most important question is, what does this mean for you, for us? How can we use this to avoid falling into these traps ourselves? Now, look, it is so tempting to learn about this and immediately start pointing fingers, right? To use Dunning-Kruger as a label for other people you disagree with. But that's not the point. The real power of this idea is using it as a mirror. It's about recognizing our own potential blind spots. Because, let's be real, every single one of us goes through this.
So how do we stay grounded? It really comes down to cultivating what you might call intellectual humility. That means a few key things. First, always be a student. Never stop learning. Second, go out and ask for honest feedback, even when it's tough to hear. You've got to question your own assumptions constantly. And maybe most importantly, get comfortable with the 3 most powerful words in learning: I don't know. And then go find someone with more expertise and learn from them.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. We all have our blind spots. We all have our own little peaks of overconfidence that we're standing on in some area of our lives. True wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about having the humility to ask yourself, what's one thing I might be a little too confident about right now?